I want to welcome everyone to this new YouTube show that's called The Heart of America. And I just want to give a little introduction to this show. As most of you know, we had the 2016 election. It rocked everybody's world, perhaps except for many Trump supporters, I don't know. But as far as my world is concerned, people have been up in arms about this election. And what we've seen is a great divide between those of us who supported Donald Trump for whatever reason, and those of us who are very opposed to Donald Trump for our reasons. And friends and family members and people we know on social media have been, arguing with each other, defriending each other, not talking with each other. And what I saw was a shocking difference in what we believed and how we saw the world, and even the facts that we were looking at. So this show, The Heart of America, is one person's attempt, not a media person, not a broadcast journalist, just a regular human being, to start to talk with people about politics in a way that hopefully does not divide us, but starts to unite us. And that's why it's called The Heart of America, because it is actually breaking my heart to see how divided we are, to the point of, even sometimes attacking each other in the streets. There was one protester who was shot at. There were Trump supporters who were attacked as well. And we see that going on all over the country now. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. My guest today is Jay Parker. Jay Parker is here. Just say hello, Jay.
Hello, everyone.
Jay is in New Jersey, and Jay is a Trump supporter. And I'm going to tell you the story of how we met online. When the election first happened and I had done some background research on Donald Trump, I became very alarmed, and I started posting on Medium. I posted a blog called Why We Are Crying. And one of the first people to comment on this blog, and I had posted about, freedom of the press being attacked, and what happens to journalists in Russia, and what happens to dissenters in Russia, and how I was afraid that Trump was going to start to adopt some of these same ways of being in office as in Russia. And so I get a comment from Jay, one of my first comments. And, I've been trolled by Trump supporters before, so it wasn't brand new to me. But so Jay writes from New Jersey. I'm just going to read a few. Jay, just pardon me, because I know this was the heat of the moment. So he writes, "Stop crying and stop with the drama queen stuff. Why weren't you crying for all of us in bankruptcy and foreclosure and the millions hurting by this man-made greedy bastard recession? Why didn't you hear our pleas for help? Stop with Trump already." I'm assuming stop criticizing. "Your ignorance and failure to heed the financial warnings have brought about this mandate. You did nothing. You created Trump." So, and then it goes on to say, "You must live with him and me." But then there was a shift. Okay, first you have to see the photo too. I was a little scared, to be honest. But then there was something else. What Jay wrote was, "After being devastated, decimated, and destroyed, I now have hope. You are worrying yourself into a tizzy for no good reason. Stop it. Whatever you are worried about, let me help. I know Trump. I am Trump. I am on your side." Now, the "I am Trump" part, frankly, scared me a little bit. But then when you said, "I am on my side," Jay, and when you said, "Whatever you are worried about, let me help," it was a reaching across the divide. It was like, I'm not going to be your enemy, but I see that you're so worried. Can I help to ease your fears? And I think that was the moment when I felt like I could talk with you. And then we went back and forth a little bit, me asking you, well, what happened to you that's making you so upset here? Do you want to talk about this encounter at all? Or were you commenting on a lot of people's blogs, or was this the first one that you commented on? Or
I think I was commenting to a lot of people that were really upset. And I just couldn't understand, why are you so upset? If Hillary won, I would have just said, oh, well, we have another 4 years, and it would not have affected us as much. But
Yeah.
Trump getting in was unbelievable.
Yes.
And so I wanted to let you and everyone know, don't worry. He's not going to do a lot of things that he said in the campaign, and he's going to do great things that are going to make everybody happy. So at this point, we're still hoping.
Yes, so we don't know. We understand that many people had a lot of faith in Trump, and I was trying to be on his side in the beginning too. I had not been involved in politics as much as I used to be in my younger years. I had decided to work on the spiritual aspect of life, and so I was hoping maybe he will be someone new, and he'll bring in, I thought maybe he'll bring Obama in as his race relations guy, and then this whole Democratic, like, we need to be bipartisan. And so I could see that aspect of I guess, of that way of seeing him. I have to say that I had done some research on his white supremacist ties and his back, just his whole history, you know, the documentary that was done by Frontline on him and Hillary Clinton. And so that's why I was alarmed. You know, I had seen some of the tweets that had gone out that seemed to be dog whistling to white supremacists. And then, you know, the arising of more white supremacist speakers and the Heil Trumps, and all of that was probably what scared me the most, and continues to actually really scare me, besides other issues. But let's get to your issue first, Jay, which, let's just hear from you, and then you have some questions for me. And I just love this. I have to say that when I called Jay, he said, yes, I'll agree to do an interview with you. And when I called Jay, I'm waiting for him to answer. And I thought, oh, maybe he'll change his mind. And I was waiting for him to answer the phone. I literally had tears in my eyes, because I was so, we've been through so much in the last 3 months. And to feel like we could reach out to talk with each other just felt like almost impossible. And yet at the same time, something really that would be so beautiful. So anyway, so Jay has a story. And the reason he's so upset, well, let me just ask you, Jay, why were you so upset with me as someone you saw as not paying attention to politics? And, you know, and then you've explained some more to me, but tell me again, why were you so upset, and why did you vote for Trump?
Well, I was for Trump from the beginning, from his first announcement, because I said, here's somebody that, even though he's a billionaire, he's going to help us. He's going to do something. He's going to get things done. And I didn't think Hillary would get anything done. It would be 4 years of the same. And if Hillary did win, and we have a Republican Congress, a Republican Senate, you know, nothing would be getting done now, nothing. So I do have hope now that something will happen. He will move forward. Now, with that said, it all goes back to August of '07. I was in the real estate services business, and as everyone knows, real estate went to hell in a handbag. And I say August of '07. My mom passed away in June of that year, and I had to sell her house, and I had it sold for $130,000. And by August, it was down to $100,000. So I said, oh boy, this is not good. By August of '08, we went bankrupt. I could not pay the mortgage. We had no income. We had to use savings and retirement to survive. Then I had to sell assets. This is what really stuck in my craw. I had to sell my wife's gold jewelry. We had to melt that down for the money. We had to sell her diamond ring. We had to sell the baby grand piano. I had to sell my 1950 and 1960 baseball cards. I had a hell of a collection. All my coins. I had to melt my silver coins down for silver value. Now, let me say this. I melted that down at $36 an ounce. And silver's around 15 or 16. So that was a good deal.
Okay,
And we
good. At least that.
At least that. And we melted the gold at 1407. And gold's around 1200. So, but we still had to get rid of everything to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going through 8 years of Obama, and really nothing is really happening. There is no hope. There is no change.
Mm-hmm.
There's no jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So most of us just said, let's give him a chance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With all his flaws. Let's just see what happens.
Right. And so the other story, did you talk about this? I don't know if I missed it, but you told me before that you were foreclosed on in December, right before Christmas, December 15th of 2016. What
Yes.
happened?
Now, this is interesting. For those that know a little bit about the law and contracts, New Jersey is a non-recourse state. If you were in Pennsylvania, that's a recourse state. And that means that if you go into foreclosure and you owe money on that house, they can go after you forever for the money. In New Jersey, once they take the house, they cannot come after us for the difference. So that's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is the bankruptcy laws. We had to take advantage of the bankruptcy laws the way Trump did,
Mm-hmm.
because we couldn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to stay in our house for 100 months without paying the mortgage. And I consider that a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's over eight years living for free in the house with a mortgage of $4,400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
But the day after Election Day, the sheriff came and knocked on the door and said, you have to get out in 30 days. So we were evicted by December 15th.
I see. And that was after the election. So for you, that was just sort of another reason to be upset. In fact,
Right.
I don't know when you sent your comments to me on Medium, December 19th, that was 3 days.
Right. So we moved into this apartment on December 1st. My wife could not handle being there in the house when the sheriff came with the locks. She said, no, I don't want to be near the house. So we moved early, and we've been here a couple months, and it's a nice place. We're happy here, but it costs $1,744 a month to live here.
Yeah.
So luckily she's making money, I'm making a little bit, and we can afford to live here. But our lifestyle has downsized and changed.
Yeah.
And unless Trump comes through, we see no possibility of ever having a good retirement.
Yeah. So when I first talked with you, you were very upset about being evicted. You told me later that you did stay in the house for some time, but that your anger wasn't so much about the foreclosure, but about the economy and what happened when the economy fell apart in 2008. Of course, that was, I think Obama was just coming into office. So, there was a Republican administration before that, and I pointed that out to you in our dialogues. I said, well, I don't know if you can blame Obama for that, because he was coming in to try to fix it, and for a lot of people, he did fix it. But it seems to me that there's a great portion of the population that he did not fix it for. And then you told me to watch The Inside Job, which is a documentary. It's narrated by Matt Damon, and it's about how the banks have grown and gotten into riskier and riskier transactions, which we all paid for with the recession. I mean, that hit everybody, and we thought it was going to be a major depression even. So when Steve Mnuchin was nominated, I wrote to Jay, I think, and I said, have you seen that Steve Mnuchin is nominated for Treasury Secretary? Because this guy is known in some circles as the foreclosure king. As someone who worked at Goldman Sachs, I think, in fact, Steve Bannon worked at Goldman Sachs. I think there are maybe 3 or 4 other people in the cabinet who worked at Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest banks, you know, in the country, if not the world, that did deal in these derivatives. I mean, Steve Mnuchin was involved in foreclosures. So I said to Jay, what kind of magical fairy dust do you think we're going to sprinkle on Steve Mnuchin? And I say that about Trump supporters too. That's going to make them suddenly be beholden to the people. Now, I don't know what your answer is today about that. I know that the last thing we saw Trump do was, you know, one of the things we're seeing him do now is start to repeal parts of Dodd-Frank, which was the banking reform bill that the Obama administration oversaw. So what is your feeling now?
Well, that's a good question, because I've noticed that all the Goldman Sachs people have infiltrated the government once again. Goldman is a money-making machine. They do whatever they have to do to make money. And I'm just hopeful that they will do the right thing for the people. The reason Trump is in is because millions of us are hurting. So you have to do something for us. Now, I don't know what they can do. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the Fed print $6 trillion in new money and distribute it to the people that were hurt.
Mm.
And the debt would go up. But you know what? The debt went from 10 trillion to 20 trillion. And is there any difference in the world? Interest rates are low, inflation's low. There's no change. I think it could go to 26 trillion and have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what will that do? That'll pump money into our pockets. We can save, invest, spend, and get the economy going and feel a lot better.
But I'm just going to bring this up because this is an issue that I've heard people on both sides talking about, that people who are, you know, to be frank, a lot of white people voted for Trump. A lot of black people did not vote for Trump. And I wonder why there's this divide. Some black people did, actually, you know, and they're out there. But there is this conservative, right-leaning view that we shouldn't be giving handouts to people. We shouldn't be helping people get a leg up. People should just do it themselves. And if the government helps them, that's like socialism, communism, Marxism. And yet that sounds to me like what you're asking for yourself. So I don't know what your position is. What do you say?
Well, let me just say this, that the recession was man-made. It was created by, what I say, greedy Wall Street whores who did this financial manipulation, which is all spelled out on the Inside Job movie. Mm-hmm. Yes, we know Bill Clinton enabled a lot of that with Greenspan, Rubin, and Summers.
Yes.
We know that George Bush continued it. And we know the recession started under Bush, and I'm blaming him. But I'm blaming Obama for just not doing anything. Mm-hmm. In other words, Bush ran the ship into the ground, and Obama never got us out. He just sat there. What we're looking for is...
Okay, wait, I want to interrupt you because there are people who would say the economy was in a free fall crisis. We were moving into a depression. You could have seen people on the streets, in lines, at soup kitchens. And yet the economy now has, some people would say, see, I think this is the problem. It's recovered for a lot of us and not all of us. And some people would say if we just had waited a little longer, it would have recovered perhaps for all of us. I don't know. Again, you know, I'm not the expert. These are just casual conversations with some research thrown in. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you not agree that the economy was actually improving for a lot of people, if not maybe for New Jersey and your area of Mount Laurel.
Well, yeah, no, listen, I agree. But if you look at the economy improving, a lot of that was the stock market going from 6,600 to 20,000. So the rich got richer, or the people that were lucky to have money in the market made money. What I can't understand are the Black people of this country that did not say one word during the recession. And some of them had to be destroyed. Now the poor, there's no effect with the poor. The recession didn't affect them. They were always poor. They always will be poor. They're going to get government support. It's the middle class people, mainly white and mainly in those states that Trump won, who really took the brunt of the recession. So we're looking for, well, what I really am looking for is to be able to sue the federal government and all the culprits involved.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'd join you.
But when I tell that to lawyers and law firms, they laugh. They say, you don't have a case. But it's like, but I've been financially damaged. Usually when you get damaged financially, you can sue. And I'm noticing how the federal government is suing all the banks to get money for their illegalities in mortgages. And they make these settlements, billions of dollars in settlements. And the money, I guess, is just going into the coffers of the government. It doesn't go back to the people.
Well, I'll tell you what happened to me. I was the director of a nonprofit in 2008. And when the economy tanked, we had grants of nearly $500,000 or $100,000, depending on the foundation. When the economy tanked, all the foundations pulled back their funding and said, we have to half of our money is gone. It's wiped out. So what that meant for me and my staff was that we could not pursue the work that we were trying to pursue. Our salaries went down. I mean, honestly, I was never making a lot of money to begin with in the nonprofit world, but this was, I mean, we had to move out of our office. The office became my home office. So I was impacted as well. And I don't know that I thought about who to blame so much as just surviving. We were living at my mother's house at the time, so we could save money on rent and so forth. And now, you know, the economy's picked up, and both my husband and I have good work, and I feel very grateful for what we do have at this time, which is a lot more than I think a lot of people have. But I think what you're pointing to is that Trump all along has been talking about the issues that are both of these working class people, such as yourself, but also relate to Black people. And I wouldn't say that Black people weren't complaining. Who knows? I mean, to say Black people is to talk about millions of people in this country, all of whom have a different economic level and viewpoint and political philosophy and everything else. So I'm sure there were people complaining. And it just seems to me that what's happening is that we are being divided from each other. So you could see me as a liberal. I wouldn't say I'm a Democrat. I'd say I'm independent, but I tend to vote Democratic because I'm liberal. What does liberal even mean? You'd have to ask me what that means, what I believe in. You're a Republican. I guess you're conservative. I don't know. Would you call yourself a conservative?
No, I have a lot of, we'd have to go down to each issue. And these were the questions I was going to ask you. And it's basically the topics of the day.
Yes. Okay, good. Let's hold off on that. And let's just wrap up with the wealth bankers, because I just want to say that, you know, doing the research on Stephen here, our boy Stephen, I mean, this is very interesting because let's see, he worked for Goldman Sachs for 17 years. He bought the failed residential lender Indy Mac, changed its name to One West Bank. Very interesting. He worked for a few years, from what I'm seeing, with George Soros, the financier that everyone who follows the sort of Trump conspiracy theory view of the world thinks is a kind of Marxist, communist, almost like a Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, they work together. The new Treasury Secretary nominee, I'm not sure if he's confirmed at this point, and George Soros together at SFM Capital Management. Mnuchin has been criticized for his use of offshore entities for investment purposes. One West was criticized for aggressively foreclosing on homeowners. The high foreclosure rate may have been a result of the loss sharing agreement with the FDIC, whereby the FDIC had to reimburse One West for losses. So this means that the more they foreclosed, the more they were reimbursed by the government.
And can I, if I could say,
Yes.
That's not Steve Mnuchin's problem, or he didn't create that. That's the way it's set up.
I understand that. And yet, if he's the head of the Treasury now, how is he going to set things up?
Exactly. And that's what we don't know.
I know. Well, you know.
But remember, he foreclosed on everybody because that's the way the law is written. He is allowed to. We needed somebody to change that law. We needed Obama to say, no, moratorium on all foreclosures. Nobody is kicked out of their house. Now, you know who did that? Chris Christie, Republican, New Jersey. We had a 3-year moratorium here because he realized, whoa, something's wrong. Not all these people are deadbeats. We have to stop this and find out what the hell is going on. Trump's favorite line.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they said, oh, okay, there's no more robo-signing and this, then the county I'm in hired 20 more people to evict people. And now they're just cranking them out. Get out of your house. Get out. Get out.
Right.
We need somebody to change that. We need somebody to say.
I'm just going to say one thing, okay, because I think this is part of the root problem is that when people worship money, like I told you, it's not that people are losing religion. It's that we have a religion that no one acknowledges, which is the religion of money. And I am not going to let anyone off the hook just because the laws are in place for them to make tons and loads of money. It is on them to think about the greater consequences for people who don't have as much as they do. I mean, that's sort of a liberal stance, that you take care of others. You don't just look out for yourself, you take care of others. And that's one of the reasons you see us all protesting in the streets these days. But so I'm not letting him off the hook. I am not. I mean, maybe he's a good guy, maybe he's a fun guy, but that doesn't mean he didn't hurt a lot of people engaging in the kind of practices that he did engage in at One West, as far as I know. Now, the other interesting thing that and in fact, listen to this, according to the HUD's response, this is all from this paper that I have. This is a Wikipedia paper, but it's all documented, so everyone can go and look at the original documents. City Financial Freedom, this is the company that he sold One West to, foreclosed on 16,000 federally insured reverse mortgages from April 2009 to April 2016. This is under Obama. This represents about 39% of all federally insured reverse mortgage foreclosures during that time. That means that because Financial Freedom only serviced about 17% of the market, it was foreclosing on more than twice as often as its competitors. So, I mean, it gets exhausting to start to look at all of this. And then when I was looking at Mnuchin, my senator, Kamala Harris, who has been a very vocal anti-Trump voice in California, she's a Democrat, I found out received $2,000 in campaign contributions from Mnuchin. Now, probably not as much as Trump did, but nonetheless, what we see is that these people are putting money in everybody's pockets. So when she was asked to prosecute Mnuchin for illegal foreclosure practices. Okay, she did not. I think what we're seeing is this is beyond Democrat and Republican.
Yes.
And the other thing that's interesting to me is that, okay, here's something I found out on the internet, that Trump had promised to bring back, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, is it Glass-Steagall? The Glass-Steagall Act.
Glass-Steagall.
Glass-Steagall Act, which was one of the strictest.
Now, who busted up Glass-Steagall? Bill Clinton, Alan Greenspan, Larry Summers, and Robert Rubin.
Okay.
The Democrat triumvirate busted Glass-Steagall.
Right.
So it's not Democrat or Republican. It's money versus no money. The haves versus the have-nots. They rigged the system for themselves. Trump was right all along. The systems are rigged.
Yes, but do you know that the left has been saying that? The progressive left, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, they've been saying that for years, and also not taking the massive contributions from these banks, which, pardon me, Trump has taken. Mnuchin donated so much money to his campaign.
Trump took some money, but he doesn't need that money, and he will not be swayed by that money.
Well, if he didn't need it, why did he take it?
That I don't know. But here's what I'm worried about.
If his claim is, I don't need it, and he wants to be pure in that, why take any? I'm just saying.
Remember, Mnuchin's in there because of Jared Kushner, the son-in-law. And Jared Kushner is very close to Mnuchin. Jared Kushner's father went to jail because of Governor Chris Christie, prosecutor, put him in jail. As soon as Jared gets in, he says, I don't want Christie around here. Get him out.
Right.
So there's family, there's politics, money influences. All we can do is hope. We could just hope something good's going to happen. I don't really expect.
No, I'm not hoping. I'm protesting. I'm out there. I will join with you to protest. But Mnuchin, I think we need to start to join together. You know, and I'm not.
No. Listen, pick the fights you can win. Forget about Mnuchin. Don't get in the weeds. He's small potatoes. Remember the things
that seems to be your issue.
Now listen, the things he did, were legal. Contractually, he's allowed to do that. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to have a bleeding heart and say, oh, we should do good things for people. We need the government to mandate that. We needed Obama to say, stop with the foreclosures. There will be no more foreclosures. Any money that's owed will be added on the back end. Attention, all investors of the world, you're going to take a bite. You're going to lose money. But none of them lost a dime. AIG, guaranteed this, Goldman Sachs, they all got their money. It's sickening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you something interesting. Rudy Giuliani, who a lot of the people who are opposed to Trump, including myself, were very opposed to because of his policies in New York, he was one of the prosecutors of the savings and loan scandal, and they actually put people in jail at that time. You know, I think that was under Ronald Reagan, if I'm.
That's right, 1987.
Yeah, so you have these characters moving around, shifting around. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. It's just so interesting to me. So I do think these problems are more systemic, and I mean, I'm not thinking that, you know, gutting Dodd-Frank right now is a step in the right direction. Are you thinking that Trump is going to try to bring back the Glass-Steagall, the Glass-Steagall?
Well, he should.
Amendments?
He should, but I think that there's going to be too much pressure to do that. I am getting worried. I'm seeing things, especially the fiduciary law, where brokers now don't have to act in the best interest of the client. Are you kidding me? That's not good. All right, one that's interesting is climate change and energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been a Republican, 100% believe in climate change.
Mm.
We have pumped billions and trillions of pounds of carbon into the atmosphere, and I think that it is the greenhouse effect, and it's heating up the globe. It's bad. We have to do something. Stop denying it.
Okay, so I really appreciate your view. I believe the same thing. I understand that the oil industry has been funding what you could call fake news or fake scientists to come out with reports funded by the oil industry to say, oh, all these scientists who are saying that there's climate change, or oh, they're all, they don't have any credentials. And actually, we know that most of the credentialed scientists actually believe in man-made climate change. So then my question to you is, you have heard Trump say, you know, that climate change is a Chinese hoax. I just saw that 3 or 4 Republican representatives have proposed a bill, a resolution in the House. The summary is not available at this time, to terminate the Environmental Protection Agency. You saw what happened with the National Park Service. You perhaps have heard that the Trump team asked for all the names of anyone who had ever been involved in climate science research or symposiums in the Environmental Protection Agency, in order, we assume, to probably just fire those people as he's taking charge. So why? I have to tell you, Jay, I have friends who are so upset because they feel like we don't have enough time. Another 4 years could do us in. And
I agree.
That's why they're out there. They have so much passion for the planet. That's why you see the protesters at Standing Rock and everyone supporting them. It's not just the pipeline, it's what that whole movement symbolizes as enough. You know we need gas and oil. We know we need to conserve, but we also need the government to step in and on a larger scale try to control this issue. It's too hard for each one of us to do on our own. So then, did you just ignore that when you went to vote for Trump, or did you just feel like, what did you?
With Trump and voting, I overlooked all these other issues. Economic was the main driver. And I just was hoping that he would evolve in his thinking on these other issues, the way he did the Muslim ban. When he first announced, I, Donald J. Trump, hereby declare a complete and total shutdown of all Muslims entering this country until our leaders can figure out what the hell is going on. Now we're figuring things out. So now he's trying to do 7 different countries, and they're fine-tuning it. So he's evolving.
He's literally scaring people, especially Muslims who have heard the words internment camp, have heard the words Muslim registry from his team. And you just have to imagine, and this is why people are protesting, because I can imagine the fear and the terror of people who now think this is the president of the United States. He has vast powers militarily, in the National Security Council, the National Security State, however you want to word it. And I am a Muslim. So what's going to happen to me? And it goes also to the rhetoric and the connection with sort of extreme Islamophobic, fears of terrorism that are connected with like the Christian right, and this idea that I've just seen some very strange conspiracy theories out there about Muslims. And so when you start to look at that, you wonder, well, how much does he believe that? And how much do his supporters, or how much does Bannon believe that? And then what does that translate into for these American Muslims and refugees trying to come to this country? That's a whole nother conversation.
I just think that his kids, his daughter and two sons, will mitigate some of his radical thoughts and some of these other pressures that he's taking. And I know that protests are going on, and if they would back off, it would give him a chance to do the right thing. If they continue, it's going to look like, oh, the protests made him change his mind, and he's not going to do that. That's going to be a problem. So I'm hoping for just everybody relax, let him get things done. I'm willing to give him some more time. It's been very short, and he's really doing things that are not that important as far as I'm concerned so far. He's trying to get his cabinet through. The Supreme Court judge, but I want to see more action with the economy, because there's a lot of us sitting here. Where do we sign up for the job? Where do we go? Mm-hmm. That's what we're waiting for. Mm-hmm. Where's the big, like Obamacare website? Where's the job website where we can put our resume on and we get matched up with a company and we get a preference? We should have a preference that we've been hurt, so you hire us first. You hire older people first. You hire BA and MBA types first. You help the people that were hurt bad by the recession. Take care of the people that voted for you. But if I was to register today, what company's going to hire me? There's got to be demand for their product or service. For there to be demand, somebody's got to buy. They need money to buy the service or product. So that's why I keep saying, I heard you talk about money, but money is not the root of all evil. It's the source of all solutions. If everybody had enough money, let's just put it with abortions. If there was enough money for everybody, there would be no abortions, because the woman would have the baby and have plenty of money to take care of the baby till it's 18, about $250,000. So if there was enough money, there'd be no problem. Most of the issues we talked about in my list can be solved with money.
Well, I don't know. I think for middle-class people and people in poverty, money means a lot in terms of survival. I also believe that, and this is something that conservatives say quite a bit, that we have ingenuity, we have inspiration, we have creativity, we have our own internal resources that are part of the equation. So conservatives will say, well, we can't just keep giving people money. They have to come up with their own ideas and do, kind of rise up. And that's what you see in Ben Carson, I think that's why Trump has Ben Carson as the head of HUD. And I think that's a lot of it, because I run into a lot of people who are otherwise capable, but who have mental issues or drug issues and just can't pull it together. So you could give them money. And in fact, I would say a lot of people I think we should house everyone, and I think everyone should be fed, and everyone should have health care, basically. I don't even care what they're doing. I just think that's something that we should do as a society. Now, I could be called socialist for that, but that's just how I feel. I think we would all be better off if we felt like we were all being taken care of properly by the government.
Can I agree with you on that?
Okay, yes.
Um, I just went to my doctor today and for a regular 6-month checkup,
Mhm.
and our health insurance changed,
Mhm.
and all the paperwork
Yes.
and I'm saying I would rather go to the doctor, show him my driver's license, get my treatment and prescriptions, and walk out.
Yeah.
I'm Republican, but I'm a Bernie man on that.
Yeah.
Medicare for all. Everybody is covered. Everybody automatic. Now, how are we going to pay for that nicety of you walk in, you get treatment, and you go home? Well, we need money. Again, money is the solution.
Well, money's the solution, but money can also be wasted and misspent, and money,
Well, yeah.
it has to be tied into common sense and wisdom. And how are we using that money? How can we help people both with a leg up with money, but also how can we help them with and that's the work that I do. Normally, what I'm helping people to do is to find their own inner sense of empowerment. In fact, I've worked in a lot of inner city communities where we're talking to residents about their own capacity to have new thoughts and different thoughts and thoughts that can move them into jobs. A lot of it has to do with how we think about ourselves, if we're capable or not capable, if we're worthy or not worthy, if because of our background, the deck is stacked against us or not. Those are not thoughts that are helpful, in terms of moving forward. So anyway, we're covering a wide range of issues, but I love that you're talking about healthcare, and because I feel the same way. And here we are, you're a Trump voter. I was a Hillary voter. And I don't know if we both fully believed in the capacity of our candidate to solve the problems of this country, but at least you and I can agree on a couple
Right.
things, and that's very hopeful, I think.
Yes, it is, and I think really Trump would like to do something like that. He knows that's the way it should be. Now he's got pressures not to do that because the insurance companies want to make profit. And remember, all the health insurance companies before 1985 were called mutual companies, like Mutual of Omaha. And they were owned by the subscribers. They weren't public institutions. Now they're all traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and they have that profit every quarter mandate. They must make more. And the only way to do it is to raise premiums.
Right. So then that's an issue of money again.
Yes.
So that's where money is the root of evil. Maybe it's just neutral. Maybe.
Well, it's not the money that's the root of the evil. It's the way the system's set up.
Well, and
You have to make more and more profit every quarter, or you lose your job.
Right.
So, and it's that profit motive that drives Steve Mnuchin to do what he did to make money for the shareholders.
Now, let me tell you something interesting, because I've come to the same conclusion. In fact, I have a hard time investing in the stock market because I feel like that contributes to the pressure of all these companies to always have bigger and bigger profits. And I think that what that's doing is contributing to what you see as the chaos of the governmental system now, and what you're seeing is social chaos, as a result of this election. So I think we're all having that question. And then you have these billionaires who are trying so hard to hang on to their money, at all costs. And I was just reading in the New Yorker magazine that a lot of them are scared to death of the 99% that's going to come after them with pitchforks, and in the middle of their houses with, I think the Occupy Wall Street movement really scared them. And what they see happening today in the streets of the United States really scares them.
Yes.
I'm thinking to myself, so they're buying properties in New Zealand and they're buying like condominiums in like nuclear bunkers, so that they can, with ammunition, and there's no sunshine down there, right? But they're going to hole up there as the masses come with their pitchforks or whatever they think is going to happen. They're afraid of a social revolution. Wouldn't it be better if they just shared? Like if they just were willing to maybe pay more taxes or help to solve some of these problems, if they turn their attention to helping to fix the problems, then they wouldn't have to be so paranoid, and there were some billionaires who were saying, yeah, when my fellow billionaires, these are Silicon Valley people, when they talk like that, I ask them, have you donated to a homeless shelter? I mean, what are you doing with your money? And one of them said, there comes a point at which being able to buy anything you want, the novelty starts to wear off. And to me, that's where the spiritual aspect comes in, because all of that money cannot actually make you happy. I mean, it can make you comfortable, which is nice. And if you need it for survival, you need it for survival, for sure, as you say. But in the end, there's something about caring and loving and sharing and being responsible to your community in a way that's helpful. I think that's what really people need to start to realize, is that being selfish all the time makes you feel like one day you're going to have to live in a nuclear bunker, rather than feeling like we're all in this together.
They must be making profits for the shareholders. They're making all this money. They can't just share it. So we have to change the system. Now we can change it by increasing taxes. Make them pay their fair share. And what is their fair share? Enough money to take care of the people.
Well, that's not what Trump wants to do.
No, he's going to cut taxes and in hopes that it'll create jobs. And that's the one thing that really worries me. Because Bush cut taxes. Everybody cuts taxes.
Right.
But that just means the rich get more money to invest and hold. They're not going to hire people. When I was busy in 2000, 2005, 1995, I had 7 guys work for me. Because we were so busy, I was taking 54 calls a day.
Right.
And booking jobs and sending the guys out, and we're making money hand over fist. August 2007, the phones went dead. I had no job, no money, no income. And I told all the guys, I got to let you go. There's no business. So nobody's going to hire unless they're busy selling products or services. And I just don't see it. We don't have the money to buy things. Mm-hmm. Now, cars, 17 million cars a year, you need a car. And we have enough money to pay a monthly payment on a car. So we bought the car. But as far as buying other things, it's all discretionary. We just can't afford anything else. Mm-hmm. And most people can't. We don't make enough money. And we don't make enough money because in 1970, the minimum wage was $1.75. And everything has gone up 10 times since then. So we should be making $17.50 an hour.
Right.
All right, that's excessive. How about $15? $15 an hour should be the minimum wage. And it's not. It's $7.25. It did not keep up.
I have to interrupt you here because now you have this guy, head of Department of Labor, the nominee. I think he's in charge of that. What's that restaurant chain? Hardee's?
Right. Mr. Puzder.
He opposes raising the minimum wage.
And he shouldn't, because he keeps saying, if I increase the minimum wage, everybody will be laid off. But no, if you increase it, everybody has to get paid more. you won't have to lay anybody off. We will have more money in our pockets to buy your big burgers. They don't understand.
Right. So here's what I think the difference is. I think that people were listening to Trump, and I have seen videos of him looking very like a savior, honestly. Like I almost got sucked in because he was like, I'm going to be for you. I'm going to be for you. This is going to be about you. And I think he has co-opted the language of the left, of Bernie Sanders. I mean, these issues have been around for some time. But my concern is more, what is his history? What is his background? What has he done in his life? And what is he doing now? Looking at what he's doing and not what he's saying. And that's why we're so concerned, because a lot of us have been looking at what he has been doing. And if you talk about even his son, I mean, his son tweeted a white supremacist author at one point, and Trump has tweeted the Pepe the Frog meme, which is a white supremacist meme. Now, I don't know when that started to happen, but even if there's a flavor of that going on with a meme or a character, why even get near it with a 10-foot pole? And that is why people actually think that he is really out for power, and that he's going to start to erode the freedom of the press, the checks and balances. And this, I mean, you can say this is not real, but this is why the protests are happening, is because what we see is attacks on the media, the hate crimes. I've just heard recently that the Trump administration is looking to stop monitoring white supremacist groups who are violent, to take their attention off of that and only look at Islamic extremists or possible terrorist groups. So to me, that spells trouble.
I agree, and I am empathetic and sympathetic to that. It is a problem. I just hope he moves to the left of center. He's got to move to unite the people. You have to do things that everybody likes. Now, the far left and the far right will not. So drop 20% off to the left, 20% off to the right, and get the 60% in the middle, and get your approval rating up to 60%. And that's what we want. We like a centrist president.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you can get a meeting, I will go with you. I keep saying that. I will try my hardest. I don't think we share that optimism,
Look, all we can do is wait and hope that he does something like that. But right now, I saw no indications of it. Everything is far right so far.
Yes.
But he's got to do something that ticks off Steve Bannon. He's got to do something that the far right goes, oh, what are you doing? That's socialism. He has to. Because I wrote in Medium, what if he wrote everybody a check for $10,000? He would get a hell of a lot of votes. See, George Bush gave us 300 per person. And what could you do with 300? It was nothing. We need big money. Go into further debt. Don't worry about it, because we're never going to pay all these trillions back. It's all fake money. Print it, issue it, give it to us, make us a little bit happy. He'll have a ton of votes and he'll be very popular.
Well, let's not forget the race issue. Let's not forget the Islamophobia issue. I mean, these people are terrified. People in my community, the school children, are not coming to school because they're so afraid of being deported right now, and that's just to explain why the protesters are protesting, because we know how terrified they are.
Yeah.
I myself am, I'm actually, as a former journalist, I am very concerned, because the other thing is the link with Putin. I mean, that's like, what is that? What the heck is that? That's scary, because Putin's Russia is not about freedom of the press. It's not about freedom of speech. And I'm not seeing if anything, I'm seeing a very rapid slide into that kind of attack on the media, not wanting criticism, wanting to shut it down, rather than simply rising above and saying, I understand your concerns, I'm handling them. I'm not seeing any of that. I'm seeing attacks and attacks. Fake news, you're fake news, you're fake news. That's very concerning to me.
And again, I understand, and I see that all of our issues that we're talking about are not really being solved. There's no real solutions to everything that we're talking about. Even healthcare, repeal and replace. Where's the replacement package? What does it look like? They don't know.
Are you calling your senators? Are you calling and getting active? Because I think we need Republicans. They'll listen more to Republicans who voted for them than they will to the quote unquote liberals that they think we are jamming up the phone lines in Washington. We are jamming them up. And I heard one senator say, oh, it's the robocop. It's the robocalls. We are not robocalls. I make probably 1 or 2 phone calls per day. I mean, we're getting exhausted making the phone calls. So we really need Republicans. If that's what you feel, you need to come center. You need to come far right, not far right, but center. I don't know if Trump will listen, but I think that your representatives might.
Well, I'm already left of center, so don't worry.
Okay. I'll tell you one thing, what I can really agree with you on, Jay. And that is that if not for this president, and I'm just praying that this is not a huge disaster for this country, that if what he has done is to bring people like us together, to have dialogues. I mean, I am getting more politically educated in the last 3 months. I have looked into so many more issues than I have looked at over the last 5 years.
To wrap it up.
Yeah.
My number one issue is economic. I want to see jobs. I want to see income. I want to see wealth, money. So far, I haven't heard anything about that. It's like, yeah, the jobs will come. Well, we're waiting. And remember, there's millions of us that are waiting. And so he only has a certain amount of time to do something where we can start to work again. I want a job where I go every day and I don't have time to write on Medium.
And I would just ask you one thing, is to continue to pay attention.
Oh, I do.
With me, and that if you start to feel in your heart this is too much, that you start to join in with the whatever activism feels right to you, getting active.
Understood.
Yeah. All right, Jay. So I will see you again either here or on Medium, and I just appreciate so much this conversation. We'll have more conversations with other people in the future, and we'll see how this new channel, The Heart of America, goes. But I'm so grateful that you reached out to me and that you accepted my reaching out to you. And let's hope that we can help to maybe bring some others together at this time.
Great. It was good to be on with you.
Okay. Thank you, Jay.
Bye-bye.
you.